Everything is Awesome is part of Courts and Parts, a podcast network featuring pop culture, TV, movie, and geek podcasts. Check out some of our other shows, like TV Ate My Brain, Let's Chat with Revelin Friends, and Podstalgic at courtsandparts.com.
Awesome. Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome. That was awesome.
You guys are awesome.
No, you're awesome.
No, you are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is a show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. Before we get this week's show started, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Make sure you follow us on the Twitter and Facebook at Real Awesome Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at Awesome Podcast. You can also find us on awesomepodcast.com, coretempartspodcast.com, which is the home of the Core Temp Arts Podcast Network, home to many great podcasts such as Everything is Awesome, obviously, Let's Chat with Rebel and Friends, Podstalgic, God, there's so many of them, Shondaland, TV Ate My Brain. So many options over there at Core Temp Arts. Go check them out. You can also give us a call at 267-223-4965. Leave us your thoughts. If you have questions for guests that we've talked to in the past, we can try to get them answered for you in a little throwback segment or something like that. You can also email us at awesome@crewdreamerstudios.com, or you can snail mail us at Everything is Awesome, P.O. Box 177 in Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 19030. So this week's show, and I swear we're going to get back to having guests next week. And this one's a little weird, episode 81 here. It's because I fell behind in posting some stuff. Everything is a little timey-wimey weird. This episode should have aired and is dated at the very least. Just a couple days after the horrible events that happened in Charlottesville. And I've been trying for a couple weeks now to figure out what I wanted to do, figure out how I wanted to say what I wanted to say, and spoiler alert, it never came to me. So I'm just going to wing it. It's another short episode. It's going to be a solo episode. And I'm going to, you're going to look at the date of this and say, man, how'd he know future events and whatnot? And it's just the way I recorded it after it should have aired, and I'm just backdating it. That's how I like to do things. That way, when I look things up in the future, I just kind of know chronologically when the episode happened and whatnot. So anyway, I wanted to, again, mainly I also didn't have a guest lined up for this week. So I could have put BK Mullen from the Pop and Dads podcast, or BJ Robbins from the Smugcast podcast in this space, and just rerouted my my shows. But some shit went down, and there's one side of the token. I've heard my friends who host other podcasts, like Jeff from Party of One and James from One Shot. They speak up at the end of their podcast about their beliefs politically or otherwise. I'm not usually that cat. I don't like to get into politics because it's a touchy subject. So I'm warning you now, as we're about 4 minutes into this podcast, that if you don't want to hear some political bullshit, which I don't blame you, then tune off. Don't, I got your download. That's all that matters. No, thank you for listening. But I get it. You're not really coming here to listen to politics. Podcasting for me is like supposed to be a spot where I escape some of the bullshit that's happening in the world. But I feel like I can't let it go unsaid anymore. I've been a pretty passive player when it comes to things happening in this country. I'm on that side of it where I sit back and think that, well, this is the great thing about America is that every 4 years we get a do-over. Every 4 years we get to hopefully realize we made a mistake, or hopefully realize, this is what I normally want to see happen, we made a great decision and we get to reelect somebody. But in the chance that we make a mistake, we get to also correct that mistake. And the fact that we, in 2017, I don't care what political belief you guys have. Don't care what religious belief you have. I don't even care if you're racist, really. Like, no American can say that Nazism is good, and I think even a racist can agree that that's not a good thing to have. Like, you're American first and foremost, and Nazism is not good, and linked to that is white supremacists, white supremacists. Next to that is white supremacists. And, that's obviously where maybe some people who do not like people of color fall into, and maybe that's where you're siding. But it wasn't even that. Like, I understand. I don't know. I wish in 2017 that we got rid of racism, that it shouldn't be around. There's no reason that it should exist anymore. And I understand that technically it hasn't been all that long since, people of color have fully gotten their rights from the government and the Civil Liberties Act and all that stuff. And I understand that's kind of, I guess, still fresh, but like, and I guess because I'm a white male, it's hard for me to comprehend. I'm a white male who is also like, I don't consider myself a racist. At all. Like, I don't ever, and and the touchy thing about having this conversation is that as you start saying this, do you start to sound like a racist? I'm hoping not, at all, because I don't sit around and like the first thing, race isn't the first thing I notice. Like, I have family that are a police family, and they're very Blue Lives Matters, and I get it, and that's in response to the Black Lives Matters, and that I get that, and I think that what's missed in the communications is that it's Black Lives also matter. And I agree with that 100%. And I think what it boils down to, and I'm sure I'm stealing this from somebody else, but like, all lives matter, And just the events that happened in Charlottesville, like, I guess just like woke me up, and I'm like, what? I can't stand by idly anymore, and not do anything, even though we get a do-over in a couple of years. It's no secret, if you've listened to this podcast, especially our live shows that happen at Tattooed Mom, usually Trump jokes come up, or Trump comes up in a negative light. And it's, for me, like, it is the day, and this is something that I don't think I've ever talked about, like, the day that it happened. The day that I went to bed realizing that it was going to happen, and I woke up and it had happened, was a bad day, because regardless of it being a footnote in America's history, at some point I'm going to have to explain to my kids, and especially my baby girl, that we elected a dude who literally said, grab him by the pussy, and has, like, he has. And I don't, at this point, and especially now, like, that we're so far in, like, it doesn't even matter if it's an act at this point. Like, it is behavior that a president shouldn't be doing. When I was watching one of the press conferences that he held a couple days after what happened in Charlottesville, and he was being asked questions and that he didn't like, and Trump, instead of just ignoring the question or going on, calls them fake news in the middle of the press conference, and like, it doesn't. and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just don't pay attention to politics close enough of the yesteryear. But like, I don't. That's just not very presidential. And like the same thing with tweeting all the time, not about like major things. Not very presidential. And I get that people were maybe looking for something like that, but I would be interested to have an honest conversation with someone that's still a Trump supporter after everything that's gone on, because how do you support him still? How do you agree with what he's doing? I to me, and maybe the definitions of make America great again are two different things, but he's not making America great again. He's hurting America. He's making us as a country to other countries look like idiots. There's nothing okay about what happened in Charlottesville. There's nothing okay about the fact that it took him 2 days, was it, to call out Nazism and the KKK, and it's still, even after that, flip-flopping back and forth. That's, I don't care if, like, for me, again, you go back to when we started as a country, all men are created equal. And for me, it doesn't signify all white men, and it also doesn't signify women. But for me, that definition of men, or man, all men are created equal. It's not about the physical gender. It's humankind. It's the plural version of us. All people are created equal. And I don't know. It's just, in 2017, it's hard to see this. And I've stayed silent for quite some time because I'm one of those guys that also thinks like, well, what's the point of my voice? And, I don't know. I feel like I feel like it can't be left alone anymore. And this is going to be a short episode, because I'm not the most well versed in politics. I can't necessarily comment on his political decisions because I'm not really, again, versed in in politics, but I can kind of commentate on just human behavior. And there's nothing that our president has done, that makes him out to be a decent human being. And that's a shame. And, while we may have to have this leadership for the next 3.5 years, we don't have to stand for what he's pushing. And, as of today, he rescinded the DACA, and that blows my mind too. Like I'm all about having America be America, but what is America if nothing but immigrants? I'm Irish, not that far removed from someone who came over on a boat to America. I'm about 3 generations removed from that. So it's what America is. And I can understand protecting our borders from illegal immigration, from people that are going to hurt us, people that want to hurt America, people that want to attack us from within. I get that. But, kids who may not even know that for the last 20 years or however old they are, that they're actually not from America, or they didn't find out until they applied to go to college or for a job. They found out because they were infants when they came over, and because 20 some years ago, America was where you wanted to be, and I would hope that America is still the place to be, but it doesn't seem like that. For 2017, there's way too much hate in this world, and we need to speak up against hate. You can't idly sit by anymore. We all have to find our inner Captain America and punch a Nazi. And is it wrong to hit someone randomly? Absolutely it's wrong to do that, unless they're a fucking Nazi. I don't care if you're wearing a Klan's mask or you're saluting the Heil Hitler. You deserve to get punched. Like, there's freedom of speech can only, if it can only go so far, certain ways, that favor the president, it can only go so far to favor literally hate groups. And I'm not saying, like, it's a touchy subject, freedom of speech and these hate groups, because it's just a touchy subject. I don't know. It's everything about what the climate in America right now is super touchy. And I don't think it's no longer, no longer right to just sit by. I don't think and I think we need to speak up, and if we see something, we need to say something. And that's just not about seeing a terroristic act or seeing domestic violence or seeing anything that's, that it's about seeing hate. It's about seeing hate. It's about seeing domestic terrorism. What happened at Charlottesville is no different than a terrorist attack. It is a domestic terroristic attack. It is a domestic terroristic attack. And in 2017, to see our country so divided and so divided for the wrong reasons. It's okay to have different point of views. That's what America is. But to have different point of views on whether a person of color deserves to have the same rights, different point of views to say that Nazis are bad, different point of views to say that the Confederates were wrong. I don't get it. I do not stand by that. And as we enter this world where DACA was rescinded and now it's in Congress's hand, it's time to speak up. It's time to take the country back. It's time to make America America again. It's crazy that it's gone this far. And the way I'm going to end this is the way that I've heard some very dear friends of mine end their podcasts about, standing up for what's right, and being your own little Captain America or your own Hulk Hogan or whatever. You sit down. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to do all of this. Find your senators, find your congressmen, and call them. Emailing and tweeting is not as effective as actually calling. Calling is the most effective way to influence your representatives. Find your senators, find your congressmen. Easy place to go is 5calls.org. They have an app. They give you a little script for whatever cause you're calling to raise awareness about. And they give you the local people that you need to be calling. Please, please, please don't sit by anymore. Don't do what I've done for the last several months and sit by and do nothing, because it is passively hurting us. Find your senators, find your congressmen. While you're at it, while you're doing all that, if you got some spare bucks, donate to the Red Cross or to anyone that's offering help to the victims of Hurricane Harvey. Texas got hit bad, and there's a prime example, of watching the news and seeing Americans be Americans. And it shouldn't take a hurricane to bring us together. It should not take 9/11 to bring us together. There's no difference between us whether we just got attacked by another nation or whether we got attacked by a national disaster. Just because that's happening doesn't make us any more or less human. We are all human. We are all Americans. Don't wait for something terrible to happen to look at your neighbor and say they deserve the same respect I deserve. If you disagree with what's happening in this country right now, Use your voice. That is the most important thing that we have as a human and as a nation. Find your senators. I'm going to say it again. Find your congressman. Don't call anyone that's not your local representation. Use 5calls.org to find that local representation. And if you're shy, they got a script right there for you. Straight and to the point. No one wants to hear your voicemail or be on the phone with you more than they have to be anyway. Use that script. Say thank you. Have a good day. Make your next call. We can't survive. America cannot survive if we stand this divided. I don't think we can. So let's make a difference here, guys. All right. Everything is awesome. We'll be back to full force. Everything is awesome. We'll be back to full force on the next episode. The next episode, I'm going to be sitting down with one of the hosts from the Pop and Dads podcast, BK Mullen. He was at the Philadelphia Podcast Festival. He called me out for being his doppelganger because we both had a beard and was wearing an Eagles hat. He was a really good dude. We talked podcasting. Shockingly, we do not get into dad talk much at all. Very cool conversation I had with him. Then we're going to sit down and have a conversation with BJ Robbins from the Smugcast podcast. That's a very cool conversation as well. And there is, I think I can announce it after that. I think airing airing September 6th. September 6th, we finally get the one and the only Amir Khan on the show. That's right, we're going to have Amir Khan on our show on the September 6th edition of the show, which more than likely will be released September 6th or 8th, somewhere in that range right there. Make sure you check out Everything is Awesome on Facebook and Twitter, at Real Awesome Pod, at Awesome Podcast on the Instagram. You can also find us on awesomepodcast.com. You can email us at awesome@crewdimmerstudios.com. You can call and leave a voicemail 267-223-4965. If you disagree with anything I said today, please let me know. As long as you're respectful about it, we'll go back. I'll have you on the show and we can have an honest discussion because I'm all for that. If you're going to be an asshole, then, I don't know what to tell you. You're being an asshole. Or you can snail mail us at everythingisawesome at P.O. Box 177 in Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 19030. And of course, we are part of the Core Temp Arts podcast network on coretemparts.com. For Everything is Awesome, I'm Kev, and we've been awesome!
Thank you for listening to the Core Temp Arts Podcast Network. To listen to more Core Temp Arts shows, visit coretemparts.com.